Hi folks, so some interesting news now about the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and this has to do with a whole new combat mode that we didn't even know existed until TGS just recently. And this comes courtesy to us of the Final Fantasy VII Remake official Twitter feed, of which I'll leave a link to that down in the video description. If you enjoy the video, please don't forget to drop a like and be subscribed to my YouTube channel. Got a whole host of plans for the Final Fantasy VII Remake going forward. Now, we already know about how combat works in the standard mode in the remake, since we've seen it in various gameplay elements, and that is, it kind of utilises the ATB system from Final Fantasy VII, but you actually use attacks whilst waiting for that to fill up to actually fill it up quicker. Now, in the original game, of course, you couldn't actually undertake any actions while that gauge was filling. You'd have to wait for it to be full, and then you could select whatever abilities you wanted to use. However, look at this tweet here from Final Fantasy VII Remake. We got a glimpse at both easy and normal modes from the in-game option menus, and Kitazi-san then showed us a new combat mode named Classic Mode. So this is on top of the standard difficulties. There's a new mode, a new combat mode that's been included, I guess, to pay homage to the original game. And this is how it's going to work. So in the original Final Fantasy VII, you would wait around until the ATB gauge fills up, and then select a move to initiate your attack. With Classic Mode in Final Fantasy VII Remake, the team have recreated that same style of play. So the way that this mode is going to work is that once it's been activated, the actual party is going to become fully automated. Okay, so normally in the standard, easy and normal difficulties of combat, the player is going to take control of any of the three party members at any one time, and you can switch between those. And whichever one you're controlling, you'll be able to issue commands to, and as you use standard attacks and evade and all of that good stuff, you'll fill up the ATB gauge and then you can issue commands. But in Classic Mode, all of that work is going to be done for you. So all three party members that are active are going to issue their own commands. I guess you can just sit back, relax, do whatever. I've actually got some footage here showing you of how you don't even need to touch the controller while those ATB gauges are filling up. And then, and only once the ATB gauge is full, is the battle going to pause as you start to issue your own commands. Now, once you've issued your commands, once the ATB gauge is full, that's going to empty that gauge, at which point all three party members are going to once again take over themselves and automatically attack. Now, what's interesting is that usually in normal and easy difficulties, you're going to be issuing commands to one party member and that includes, once the ATB gauge is filled, you're going to issue whatever commands you choose to empty that gauge. And if you want to use the ATB gauges of the other party members, you're going to have to switch over to them. But I believe the way it works in Classic Mode is that each time one of the three party members fills up their ATB gauge, the screen is automatically going to change to that party member, so you can issue commands for that party member then and there. So it's an interesting way of adding a little bit of extra flavour, I guess, to the combat system in Final Fantasy VII Remake. However, that said, I can also anticipate some of the criticism that's going to come from this. A lot of people, I think, are probably going to be saying that it just cheeses the game too much, that you can literally put the battles onto auto mode and then only have to worry about issuing commands once those ATB gauges are filled. But is that really going to be the case? I strongly suspect, for instance, that the game is going to be played much more efficiently if you don't use Classic Mode. I mean, how clever is the AI going to be, really, at attacking and dodging and all of that stuff? Now, maybe it's going to be super clever. Perhaps it's going to be the most efficient way to play, by having Classic Mode enabled, but I don't suspect that's going to be the case. I really just think this is a way to give the player the option to have that original Final Fantasy VII combat feeling of just issuing commands once the ATB gauge is filled, as opposed to actually trying to offer an easier difficulty even than the easy difficulty. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but we'll have to find out, over the coming months how it's really going to play out once people actually start to get their hands on it. But yeah, what do you think about this mode? Is this a good idea to implement into Final Fantasy VII Remake? Should Square even be embracing the past in this way? Or if they're going for a remake, should they just forget that and just move on with whatever gameplay systems they want to use? The Final Fantasy VII Twitter feed concludes about this feature by saying that anybody playing Final Fantasy VII Remake in Classic Mode does not have to worry about the action side of the combat system and can instead focus on selecting commands, making it possible to play FF7R as if it were a classic menu-based RPG. So my initial reaction to this is, I'm a little bit concerned, I guess, that this is just going to be a temptation to cheese through the game. But hopefully that isn't going to be the case. I'm hoping that this is going to be a challenging way to play the game. It will just be a different kind of challenge than the action-oriented combat that we've seen so far. But please do share your thoughts on this down in the video comment section. Do you think this is a good thing for Square to be doing, to including these kinds of choices for players? And are you interested in trying out the classic mode for yourself? But just because it could be relevant, if you do answer these questions, maybe you could just mention as well as to whether you're a fan of the original Final Fantasy VII or whether this is going to be your first foray into the universe. But as always, I've been your host, Simon. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, don't forget to drop a like, and we'll look forward to more Final Fantasy VII Remake news. Keep it coming, Square. I'll see you next time.
This sounds like you're having fun.